Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome. So, I've been doing, excuse me. My name is Dana Zorns, and I'm the owner of RazeBells, creator of the All-American Kettlebell Open, and I'm a certified kettlebell coach, kettlebell sport coach, kettlebell fitness, what have you. And I've kind of gotten into this little routine. Well, not really. It's developing into a routine, but I found that I really like reaching out to kettlebell sport athletes and coaches and just having a conversation with them about competition, culture, training, programming, diet, recovery, mindset, all the big things that goes into an individual's fitness journey. And I would like to highlight kettlebell sport in a way that maybe a beginner would consider, or, if someone is thinking about doing kettlebells or something like that, then from these conversations, they can get some actionable steps on how to get started. Um, so that's pretty much it. I'm sure it'll evolve over time. Most things do. Um, so today I'm going to be joined with um, Stay Gordon. It's his name is Stephen Gordon. I'm going to ask him as soon as he gets on how I should pronounce it. It's probably Stay, but I'm pretty sure he's out of the UK, and he coaches everyone from youth athletes, total beginner adults, to elite athletes performing in the 32 kg weight class, which is the professional weight class in kettlebell sport. So he touches on just about everybody. And he owns his own club space. It's called Two Nova Kettlebell Training. And I'm pretty sure he is based out of the UK somewhere. We're going to find all that stuff out. I haven't never met him. I've only talked to him once or twice through Instagram. Most of most kettlebell sport athletes I've found have, their platform of choice is Instagram. So if you're looking for kettlebell sport athletes, go to Instagram. I'm sure we start at 9 o'clock. We got about a minute, but I'm looking through his page because there's an individual that he coaches. He's a professional athlete, and I just want to say his name correctly. I think it's Abdonis, something like that. But I'm gonna go look right now. There it is. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Albalninis. Abel, I don't know. I'm gonna ask him when he gets home here. So we have the live chat up. We're up live on YouTube. I'm on here a little early because I wanted to get live on YouTube and kind of give a little introduction to what this is, these interviews are. You know, I'm I really I'm enjoying interviewing people and talking to people about kettlebells, period. So it's pretty fun. He had to pick up his in-laws today from the airport. We were scheduled for 8 a.m. my time, 1 p.m. his time. And he asked me to push it back an hour so he could do that. The All-American Kettlebell Open is this weekend coming up, October 11th and the 12th. The RazeBells crew will be, so we are in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and the All-American Kettlebell Open takes place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So it's about 2.5 hours from us. So Wednesday, I'm going to be picking up a U-Haul truck, loading up the bells that are here in the gym, and this is my home gym. And then I have a storage unit with a ton of bells and platforms and all of the competition equipment that we will organize it all into the U-Haul and hit the road. Um, Pro Kettlebell, Nikolai and Amber are loading up 8 sets of the new international line, the IKO official Dennis Vasilev branded bells. I purchased 8 sets for this year's competition. It was a pretty little penny. They're pretty little bells, and they'll be here Thursday. They're driving up. Well, Deb, she's the production manager this year for the All American. She's going to be driving up in a U-Haul truck from Texas. Stay just messaged me on Instagram. He's going to be 5 minutes. So I got a list of questions. Basically, Stay has quite a few achievements in kettlebell sport as far as his own athletic endeavors, but also his coaching. And today I want to dive into more of the coaching aspect and maybe someone who is thinking about becoming a coach or is already a coach, maybe they can refine their skills, um, get some new perspectives. If they're maybe a strength and conditioning coach, how can they add kettlebells into their coaching repertoire or their arsenal, and have additional things to pull from to help get their athletes to where they need to be. So first, we're going to go into his history, a little bit of his background. We're going to see where he started, his origin story, how it's evolved over the years, and we're going to let him pretty much take the platform and pretty much is going to, I mean, most conversations, I just want the free flow. So as he's talking, I'm sure questions are going to be popping in my head and I'm going to be, trying to dig a little deeper, maybe on some things, but I'm sure he's very intelligent and he's gonna expand on a lot of the things that I ask anyway. Um, for those of you who know Stay Gordon already, he did an interview with Kim Fox. Not quite an interview. It was more or less on the Kettlebell Sport Almanac page on Facebook. And I'm pretty sure she's been uploading her videos to YouTube as well. But he did something on her page, and they did like a an actual like seminar type thing where he did some breakdowns of lifts and things like that. Today, I don't really think we're going to get into that unless he's in his gym and he wants to back up and he wants to show things. He's more than welcome to do whatever he wants on the camera. But, this is just pretty much going to be us sitting and just chit-chatting. So I was just sent a reel by Nikolai from Pro Kettlebell, and it is all the IKO bells lined up. And the caption says Destination Atlantic City. That is awesome. Super stoked. Check out the RazeBells Instagram page. We put little snippets of these interviews up. They're mainly just training videos and things like that, but I do a lot of collaborative stuff with Pro Kettlebell and things like that because they're such a huge part of the All-American Kettlebell Open. At this point, it really wouldn't be what it is without Amber and Nikolai. In the very beginning, um, forces took hold, and it was who helped me really get it going was Steve Cotter, Dennis Vasilev. Dennis got me in contact with Nikolai, and then mine and Nikolai's relationship just flourished from there. Um, and now here we are, third year, our third annual All American Kettlebell Open together, and it's super cool. Amber's on the in the background. She's the mastermind, really, truly the mastermind behind it all. It's her wizardry that really, really makes it what it is. I'll probably go in to YouTube Studios after this chat and probably edit this video a little bit. Um, that way you're not just sitting here looking at my face for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because I'm pretty sure I got on here at like 9:55. So we're gonna go some topics we're gonna touch on with Stay is gonna be coaching and athlete development, competition and culture, training and programming. I'm not sure if he has a whole lot of experience with pentathlon, but as if you've been watching my videos recently, most of the people that I've had on have been pentathlon guys. I've been I've been really enthusiastic about pentathlon now since last year's All-American. We brought Valerie Fedorenko out to the All-American Kettlebell Open, and we put on just one flight, pretty much as for fun for him. But after that, and I participated in that flight, but after that, I was I'm kind of hooked on pentathlon. And in Boston in April, the New England Kettlebell Classic, which is ran by Jeff Butterworth and his wife, was phenomenal, phenomenal event. So that event was really fun. Um, Stay is logging on now.
How we doing, mate?
Hey, sir, how's it going?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Sorry, mate. I think I've just broke every single speed limit
Oh,
possible to get on this one. So, uh, if I do get some fines, I'll be sending them Raise
sending
Bells
them my
ways.
way. I hear
How we
you.
keeping, brother? We good?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Hey, my name is Dana Zorns, by the way, and
Hey, Dana, how we doing? You good?
doing well. I appreciate you doing this interview with me.
Ah, mate, my
Uh,
pleasure. I always, anybody who asks me to talk about kettlebells, apologies, I'm not clean shaven. I had
oh,
all
it's
sorts of
okay.
stuff planned, and yeah,
You
it's
look
so.
rugged and raw.
Ah, mate, yeah, just like kettlebell lifting, right?
That's that's right. Uh, First of all, I want to know your name is Steven, correct? But they call you
Yeah, yeah. If you
Stay,
want to shout at me and tell me off, you call me Steven. But
right?
some people call me Steve, some people call me Steve. It
So it's
depends.
Steve.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. All right. Well, Steve, if we'll just jump right into it. You are a kettlebell athlete and coach. You run Two Nova Kettlebell training facility over there. Are you in the UK?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and you coach everyone from youths to adult beginners to elite level professional athletes in kettlebell sport. Uh, you're an athlete yourself. I want to dig into your background, where you got started, how your training and coaching has evolved over the years. And from there, I'll just keep on asking questions. Mainly, I want to touch on competition culture, youth development. We're trying to grow some a youth division out here. So maybe some insights on, training youths and your take, your advice and things like that. So
Yeah,
take it
there's
away,
a lot
man.
to unpack there, brother. There's a lot to unpack, but let's
Oh,
do it.
absolutely. Yeah, so let's start. Where'd you start? How'd you get into kettlebells?
Oh man, yeah. When I always talk about this story, I always feel like everything just gets a little bit older. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? So, but yeah, I've been in kettlebell sport now for 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like I used to do Thai boxing, Muay Thai. I used to compete, and then I went through like before that, I was going through a bit of well, I say a bit like. I'd hit like a really rough patch in life, 2009 was a year that I would never want to repeat. That was rock bottom for me. So coming out of that, like, I was chuck myself into sport, but then I became a personal trainer and a coach, and then realized like I can't. My camera keeps on going a bit fuzzy there. Apologies.
That's okay.
Um, I can't train to the level I want to fight at
Mm-hmm.
because I'm coaching people, right? So then what happened was as I was going through like CPD, training, going additional courses to help with my clients, I got introduced to kettlebell sport. I just went to go and get taught how to use this tool, and somebody says, "Oh, there's actually a sport," and I was like, this sounds like a pretty straightforward thing.
Mm-hmm.
Went back home, tried to snatch the 16 for 10 minutes after just learning a few times. Got humbled very quickly. And I was like, man, what is this? So then I just chucked myself all in. I was like, I needed a new sport. I couldn't train Muay Thai anymore. And then, I just chucked myself into kettlebell lifting and yeah, just stuck with it. I got a bug, but I think I look back at that and I go, right, what's kept me going for 13 years? And it's because like kettlebells is not just something I do, it's
Mm-hmm.
like my identity now. It's something that every single training session, every single experience I've had with kettlebell sport is a metaphor for life.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different lessons that I've learned from that, and that's what's kept me in the sport. That's what's kept me going, and that's why when you were saying in the beginning, I'm a competitive athlete and a coach. It's always the other way around for me. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
coach first and an athlete second. That's
Like that.
100% because. Listen, like when you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, right? You only go
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
And I'm a big believer in like the sport has given me so much. It's given me opportunities to travel the world, meet some amazing people that I met kind of 10 years ago and I'm still really good friends with now. And I want to make sure other people get the same that I got out of the sport. Give me that passion, that purpose, the health and fitness side, the physiological stuff that that's a given. You do
Mhm.
any sort of physical activity, you're going to get that. But kettlebell sport has given me so much more in terms of the friendship, the sense of community, the
Mhm.
the opportunity to just better myself. Every single time you step onto the platform, it's an opportunity to better yourself. You're going to learn.
That's
Even
right.
if you don't get the results, you get the opportunity to learn. And I want other people to experience that because it's a unique sport. It's not everybody say, it's a little like CrossFit, it's like high rocks, like what is it? It's unique and
It
I
is.
think that's sometimes the hard selling point. But for me, it's given me so much. So this is why I'm so passionate about coaching and getting people into the sport so they can
Mhm.
have experience. And whether that's be they're getting into sport later in life, they've drifted away from physical activity, work, life, everything's just took them in a direction.
That's right.
Kettlebell sport's an opportunity to come back. It's an
Mhm.
opportunity to test yourself and get into an activity that's gonna force you to get better.
Mhm.
And then for the juniors who sport is on a general decline in the UK, unless you play like you guys call it soccer, but it's football,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
um, unless you're doing a mainstream sport like that, there's no avenue into it.
Right.
Gym culture's getting bigger, but not everybody is bothered or has the confidence to think I'm going to go there. I want to get in the phenomenal shape and I'm going to take my top off and look amazing. Nobody's like that. The
Right.
sport gives kids an opportunity to grow and develop and learn important life lessons, which we sometimes don't get exposed to these days because life is so easy. Uh, Kids don't even need to read a book anymore. Everything's at the touch of a fingertips. So adversity is a little bit harder to come by, but sport is always that equalizer. So I think the sport it encompasses so much, but there's always avenues into it. Whether you're injured, whether you're an older athlete, whether you're a youth athlete, whether you're just somebody who's after a new challenge, like you can enter this, and there's no barriers,
Mhm.
absolutely no barriers to it. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that's made me passionate about coaching and helping people get into the sport. So a long-winded way, but I got introduced to it like 13 years ago, fell in love with it. It came my heart and soul,
Mhm.
and it continues to be my heart and soul to this very day.
Nice. So 13 years you've been doing kettlebells. When did you open up your own facility and what made you want to go from the athletic endeavor and put coaching first?
So I opened the gym like kind of simultaneously. I think the gym opened a few kind of months beforehand.
Okay.
And I was just after a new space. The gym I was working out of just wasn't really my vibe. I wanted my own space.
Hmm.
And I was kind of going through this CPD at the same time. So I just kind of geared everything towards kind of functional fitness because
Yeah.
I was one of those dweebs back in the day. And then soon discovered that, anything is functional. But that's by the by. But then, like, I realized that training on your own sucks. So, and this sport is already hard enough. So, what do they always say? Misery loves company.
That's
So, I
right.
need to find some other people to be miserable together while we try and lift these kettlebells above our head.
Hmm.
And so it just kind of grew from there. And I was like, yeah, I'll teach how to use a kettlebell and we'll get into the sport and the endurance side of it and stuff. So that's kind of so my lifting athletic career has kind of gone parallel with my coaching. But
Hmm.
I've been coaching in like strength and conditioning and sports performance
Hmm.
alongside that. So I was always growing massively as a coach in this area and that just always fed into the kettlebell sport side of things as I was growing and learning.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that grounding of everything going, I was able to experience stuff as an athlete, able to learn from that point of view, and then pass that on to my guys that I was getting into the sport and stuff like
Right.
that as well. So, but in terms of the coaching, like, and when did coaching take off compared to the athlete? Like that saying I said I'm a coach first and an athlete second. That's probably I've only come to terms with that in like probably the past, I don't know, 18 months, two
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
And that was hard. That was hard. For a long time before that, there was always conflict.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize what it was. And it was only when I stuck back and realized like you give so much in coaching, give so much energy. And then when you look at athletes, the best athletes in the world, not just a kettlebell sport, but any athlete in the world, like you have to be single-minded. You are driven, single-minded driven, you know? Even if you play a team sport, you are the first in the gym, you are the last to leave. We've used Cristiano Ronaldo, you know, Kobe, Michael Johnson, Jordan, like all these guys, Tiger, whatever it may be, all
Hmm.
these athletes were absolute single driven to succeed, you know, and
Hmm.
they would pull everybody else up around them. Whereas, obviously, as a coach, you're giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and helping, and you're not just talking about the sets and the reps. You're the emotional support, the nutrition support, the going through the emotional roller coaster that sport gives. And then, ultimately, uh, I sort of had to take a step back and go, no, I was going to competitions, and it was in European Championships in Nafplion, Greece,
Hmm.
a couple of years ago, and I want to say like 16, 17 lifters
Oh, wow.
at this competition. And when I was like, I can't lift there. I can't lift. I've got too many people to look after.
Right.
And that was the realization is like, you've got to do one or the other.
Hmm.
But that being said, because I'm stubborn and, I like to overcome challenges, I'm still trying to find ways. How do I coach that many people and still perform? I've still got a lot of unfinished business in the sport.
Hmm.
So like I'm pushing myself, and I think ultimately it's about I did a bit of work with Zach Hickmore, sports psychologist in the UK. Shout out Zach, awesome guy, cool guy. And we worked through this like how do you park the coach mindset and focus on just being an athlete? You
Hmm.
train 5, 6 times a week. So those 6 sessions a week, you need to be able to lock the door on the coach mindset and get
Hmm.
into the athlete mindset. Even if it's just for a brief, it's easier said than done.
Right.
But probably the past 2 years. But I've always been passionate about trying to help other people achieve their goals. Um, because I think my passion for it was able to light a fire in some people.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's what drove them forward. So I've always been more like, how do I keep pushing and pushing and pushing? Hey, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but as we all do as we grow in this journey.
Hmm.
But yeah, they kind of ran simultaneously. It's probably just the past couple of years that I have to recognize that I'm a coach first and an athlete second, and I'm
Hmm.
completely fine with that.
Oh, yeah. I've seen, I've been following your Instagram page for a little while, and I've seen that, you did like a seminar style thing with Kim Fox on the Kettlebell Sport Almanac page.
Yeah,
Broke down some lifts, and you guys did some conversing back and forth. And then since then, I've seen you, talk about this struggle from athlete to coach, and I've seen you, publicly display that on Instagram, and I think that's huge. Defining the balance is super important. I'm not sure what your story is, and your rock bottom that you were talking about in 2009. But one of the things that I know to be true, and that you're obviously, you're there mentally, is that one of the things that can pull us out of that is, how do we serve others? How do we help others? Helping others is like the number one thing to secure happiness in ourselves, right?
yeah, yeah. And Denzel Washington, like Denzel just nailed it every single time, right?
Oh yeah,
If you want to be motivated, just go type Denzel into YouTube and you'll be
that's
fired. You'll be
right.
like, oh, come on, I'm taking over the world now.
Oh
Denzel is the
yeah.
guy. He is the man. But he said, like, being selfless is the most selfish thing you can do.
Yes.
And the reason being is because when you help someone, the feeling you get when you see them succeed far outweighs any money, any cars, any
Right.
house, and stuff like that. Now, don't get me twisted. I like the car and the house. That would be
Oh,
nice,
absolutely.
you know. So if
Absolutely.
Denzel wants to give me that car and that house, that I'm not going to say no. But
Right.
it's true, and I think because I always I reflect back. I do a lot of reflecting because I think in order to grow, you need to ask questions. So I
Right.
always look like, why am I so like driven to become the best coach I can be? And why is it a never-ending pursuit for me? You know, and I look back and there's key times in my life whenever there's been struggles or key turning points, there's always been a great mentor coach there. So back in school, there was two teachers that kind of like um pulled me out of it into the gym, you know. Um, so I always look back and it was like they would just want to see me be the best I could be. They knew that I had potential, but I wasn't recognizing it. So
Right.
they were trying their best to help me recognize it. So they got me into the gym and I was just doing, you know, back in the day, like 14, 15 bench and tries, you know,
Oh, yeah.
back and buys and all that kind of stuff. And I was committed to over the summer holidays, and I was in the gym every single day, just doing kind of bodybuilding stuff and where have you. So that got me exposure to feeling good because it forced me to put stuff into myself, which
Mhm.
allowed me to elevate and push myself to a new level. And then later in life, before I hit that rock bottom stage, I bumped into I went for my first Thai boxing session, and I always remember the day. It was dark, it was rainy, cold. It's like that in the UK, probably 90% of the year.
Yeah.
But like we pulled into this industrial estate, the type of place you come in. There's potholes everywhere. It's wet, damp. It's like tin roof and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, there's only like mechanics and storage and junk and crap everywhere. And you're like, where am I going here? And I walk into this freezing cold gym and you just get hit by this aroma of Thai oil. And then like just out of the cupboard, like where his little office was, comes over this guy, Paul Pearson. Shout out Paul. He's one hands down one of the biggest influences on my life. Comes out and like just makes me feel like the most important person in that room. And the guy just said hello, introduced himself, and said welcome to the gym and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
you're talking like a 30-second interaction. But he
Right.
made me feel like the most important person in the room. And that lit me up. I was like, oh, man, this is fire. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
like this is energy. Like, where's this coming from? I've never felt this, you know. Like I'd spent all my time in the pub just getting smashed and
Hmm.
feeling worse about myself. I've spoke to this guy for 30 seconds and I feel like I can take
Take
on
on
the
the
world.
world.
Like, what's this? So I chucked myself into that sport and I was just training, spending time with it, looking. And it wasn't just me. Like there could be 20 people in that class would come in and he would make every single person come in. The type of guy that you could be having the worst day in the world. You have an argument with your missus, work sucks, all that stuff. You walk in and he's just, your problems just disappear. He's just that
Mm.
type of guy. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. So I chucked myself into that. And then I hit rock bottom off the back of it. Something that happened earlier in life came and kicked me in the ass. Karma's something that doesn't let things lie. So ultimately, like I look back and think all these people that have had an impact on my life, and then I started coaching, getting into sport, and then I came across another mentor, two guys, Brendan Chaplin and Dave Hembrough. They worked in pro sport. They were working with athletes, and I was like, I want to work with athletes. I want to work in pro sport. I want to be that guy, you know. And these guys just opened up. It's not about the sets and reps. It's about the conversations. It's
Mm.
about the feeling of making an athlete become the best that they can be. So, in order for you to instill that feeling, you need to accept that there's a bit of humility. You need to be humble and go, you don't know everything. If an athlete comes to you and asks you a question you don't know the answer to, Mate, I don't know, but I'm going to go find out the answer for you and we'll have a discussion about that.
That
Like they
that
exposed
is
me to
literally
that.
the definition of what a great leader is.
Yeah, and ultimately it was like, oh man, this is crazy. I got introduced to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I still read that every single year. If anybody wants to read a book about personal development, read that book and read it again and again and again.
And
The
what's it
lessons are
called?
steady.
Seven Habits. Seven
Seven
Habits.
Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. The
I'm
book's
I'm gonna get it.
yeah, it's floating around somewhere.
I
I
got
just
myself a nice little bookshelf like you got there over there.
yeah,
Got
man,
all
yeah,
these
yeah.
self-help books, these coaching books, all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah, it's the one book that I would say you could read it multiple times and you'll take a new perspective from it. You'll learn
Time.
something. You know, the lens changes over the time, you more experiences you get, so it amplifies something else.
Mhm.
But these guys like steered me in a way that it was about serving others and it forced me to address some of the baggage I was carrying around. I'm not there because of these guys. I'm not there because of that and that, and that did bleed into my sport career earlier in the like the piece as well. So I needed to learn to shake that off. You know, the ego is a terrible thing at times. Sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes it's a terrible thing. But yeah, it's something that we constantly work on. But ultimately these guys, every time there's been a positive switch in my life, it's always been because there's been a coach. And now my coach, current coach Paul Moore, he's not a sports coach, he's just there. He coaches me through his program. He still continues to do that on a weekly basis, you know, through the questions and guiding me through. And
Is he sort of like a life coach?
yeah, but that just makes you want to vomit in your mouth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that fluffy stuff. Like, no, he just keeps it real, asks real
Yeah.
questions. He's uber successful. He's worked with thousands of men, master coach of the year. You know, aside from that, he forces me, and sometimes we need to be forced to find the answers or find the roadblocks and overcome the friction which is stopping you doing the thing that you need to do, you
Hmm.
know? Because ultimately, if I stop growing, my athletes stop growing.
Hmm.
You know, I remember shout out to my Lithuanian brother Arturas Balnonis, like you might have seen on Instagram. Where's Arturas? You know, but he came over last year for a training camp before we went to Corfu for the World Champs, and I remember him saying like. So when do you stop, brother? Like I come down for breakfast, you listen to a podcast. I see you for lunch, you're reading something about coaching, learning. I can't stop. He says, but how are you going to be the best athlete you can be? And I'm like, listen, like that's secondary. The coaching will always come first, because it needs to, you know. And if I have to sacrifice my results off the back end of it, like so be it. I don't mind because
Hmm.
the feeling I get from seeing other people succeed
Right.
is far outweighs everything else, you know.
I was actually going to bring him up.
Yeah.
What's his name again? He
Arturas Balneonis.
okay. And he's a professional athlete, right? 32
Yeah,
kg
well,
weight
he's like one of
class.
the
Yeah.
best jerk athletes
And
out there, like, you know.
one of the key questions that I was going to ask you pertaining to him is your coaching perspective. How do you approach when you're coaching him compared to when you're coaching a youth athlete or a
Okay.
total beginner? What's
Yeah.
Tell me some some differences there or some similarities, just your mindset when it comes to elite to beginner.
So, like, regardless of level of individual, for me, it's like it starts with the first thing of you coach the person that's in front of you. Now, when we talk about that, it's like, what's the difference between Arturus and the brand new beginner that's just joined the gym on Wednesday in my place and a
Hmm.
youth athlete who's just starting? Their start point is just different. Arturus is further down the line.
Hmm.
Like, and the new guy, Kev, he's literally just going to be learning the movement And then the youth athlete, we've got to focus on physical development, right? And just fundamental movement skills. So the approach is right. Well, we still need to adhere to the principles of training. The reason principles govern training first and foremost. But with Arturus, what it was he's always been a high level athlete for as long as I've known him. He was the junior world record holder back in my first world championships out in Tumen in Russia in like 2013. He set the youth world record there. So he's been a high level athlete for such a long time. But
Mhm.
for him, it was about unlocking this the self belief. That's why he always talks about like, oh, I found Steve and he was like my soul coach. And it's the reason being is because I was able to unlock a level of self-belief that it wasn't just about the numbers. You park the numbers aside, you believe in yourself, and then you move forward. Now, in terms of programming, the programming that goes into Arturus compared to a youth athlete and like a beginner athlete is mainly just the intensity and the volume, and
Mhm.
sometimes the density. Okay, so what we're looking at is the total repetitions that they lift is typically far greater. And why is that? It's because he's further along, so the motor learning aspect of it doesn't play such a critical part. We still work on technique slightly, a few things, but we're fine tuning. We're not trying to build the engine.
Mhm.
We're the guys in Formula One who are on the diagnostics saying we need to fine tune this, we need to fine tune that. But we can drive, we can go fast, and we can do a lot, right?
That's right.
Whereas these other guys, if they go in and do a ton of work at the beginning, but their technique is not 100%, they are picking up bad habits. And that bad habits is then going to be like a glass ceiling. And they're just going to get there.
Mhm.
And then they think, oh, to get through a glass ceiling, I'm going to have to just do more effort. Well, more effort's great until it isn't.
Right.
When an injury or burnout or something, mixture of the both of them come across. So with a beginner, it's about laying the fundamentals, but you get them building their technique, but you also get them building their general physical qualities that's going to help them alongside of it. Because where we lack in technique, we can pick up in physical qualities. So
Mhm.
we don't reduce the intensity of developing the physical qualities. We just do a lot more general physical training alongside that. And then with a youth athlete, remember, like a youth athlete is, I don't really care if you're the under 16s champion. I don't care if you're an under 18s champion. Hell, I don't even care if you're going to become a world champion when you are 20 and you start at 14. Okay. My goal with every single youth athlete is to, in 20 years' time, I want to be able to walk into any commercial gym or switch on YouTube or switch on Instagram or whatever social media platform is around, and you are still living a healthy and fit life, and you know how to move, and you've got the confidence to take the skills that you learned in kettlebells and you've applied it to life.
I
That
think
that's my number one goal. Because at the end of the day, like, oh, I was under 18s champion. Cool. Bro,
yeah.
you're 40 years old, you're overweight, you're at risk of diabetes. That under 18s champion's long gone. What
I mean
happened?
nothing now.
So for me, these kids who come into the gym now, it's okay, get purpose. Your purpose now, and the goal is not really to become anything other than just learning the lessons of life through sport in a safe and controlled environment. Okay, it's painful, it's hard, I want to quit, I want to quit. Go. You're gonna go through life like that.
But through that hardship is where we're building character and where we're
Exactly.
building like the mindset of a no quit mindset, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and also like making a promise to yourself because ultimately like you don't need to be accountable to me, you don't need to be accountable to anyone else, you need to be able to be accountable for yourself. So ultimately everything that you do, the actions off the back of it determine that's your outcome. Now if you half-ass it through training and you don't get the results you want, that's on you. That's you. That's that, and that goes in life, you know. So with the juniors, very much like in terms of the programming. So we'll break it down. So mobility, general movement skills make up 40-50% of the session. So we have an hour. So
Okay.
30 minutes goes into general movement, body awareness, fundamental movement skills. Fun in there as well. Kettlebell training takes up around about 15 to 20%. The rest of it is just general physical training.
Okay.
The reason being is because there seems to be a bit of a death in general physical preparedness now because listen, okay, kids aren't really going to parks as much as they used
Right.
to. They're not walking to school. They're not running to school. Schools in the UK, I can only speak for the UK,
Mm-hmm.
like their PE sessions, it's not physical education, it's sport
Mm-hmm.
education. So, okay, this term we're playing football. Next term we're going to do trampolining. Next term we're going to do um, badminton or racket sports. Term after we're going to do rugby. Like that's all sport education.
Right.
Where's the physical education? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not learning how to be physical. I'm not learning how to build my skills. I'm just learning how to play a sport.
Right.
Now, if you don't like sport, and there's people out there that don't, like, what are you going to do? Oh, you're not the sporty type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a sporty type. I guess going to the gym and stuff, that's not for me, right? No. Like
Yeah.
everybody needs to be fit and strong and healthy and stuff like that. So like that's the thing with me. Like the youth guys, their sessions only take up 15-20% is actually kettlebell lifting. The rest of it is fundamental because it sets them up. It also allows them to get more out of the other sports that they do
Mm-hmm.
because multi-sport kids will always outperform the kid who does early specialization on a general scale. I'm not talking about the 0.001%. Cristiano Ronaldo's, those guys who are playing in this, like, from
Yeah.
day one and go on to make it. I'm talking about the other 99.99% of
Right.
people that just do one sport at
The
an early age and drop out.
basically the general population of kids,
Yeah, exactly. So we know so if we can use kettlebell sport to help a kid get faster on the football pitch, get them better at rugby, make them more robust, so they get more enjoyment out of that sport, that's a big win. Or if we get the kids who are a little bit have got ADHD, a
Mm-hmm.
bit of autism, some like dyspraxia, coordination issues. They get a little bit overwhelmed with the environment. Don't do team sports. Don't do that. It's a bit too chaotic for them. Just stand in one spot, take this kettlebell, and put it above your head,
That's
and you're
right.
going to try and do it for 10 minutes.
That's right.
Oh, cool. I've got one kid there told you're not the sporty kid, not a sporty kid. She's 16. She's just finished her GCSEs in A level. Sorry, her GCSEs. She got like an A or a high mark in that. She's going on to do that A level. She'll get a high mark in that, and she's representing England as
Mm-hmm.
in biathlon. 16 years old, female, lifting double 16s and
Nice.
snatching 16. She did a 10-minute set this morning, 140, 150 reps on
Wow.
snatch, but she's been competing. But when she first came to me, she was not the sporty kid.
Mm-hmm.
But
Now I
what, who,
got it.
who, who gave you that title?
Right.
That's nonsense. That's a title that doesn't have to become a reality,
Exactly.
And I always say this to the kids. What I heard it from, I think it was Les Brown, was like someone's opinion of you does not become your reality. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody says you are stupid or you're not mathematical or you're not this, that doesn't then become your reality. So if somebody says you're not the sporty kid, that doesn't become your reality.
Right.
Got young Dan there who he's autistic. And when he started doing kettlebells, we got a great report from school saying he's just starting to move forward. He's doing great stuff.
Right.
You know, this sport has served him and got kids who have got like low confidence and stuff like that. Just haven't found there's something,
Right.
you know. But then we've got kids who then used kettlebell sport and then they ended up getting like a scholarship and then
Mm-hmm.
went on to help with their rugby training and now they play full-time rugby.
Right.
Kids who then do it football. So for the youth, long-winded answer there. Apologies, Dan.
No,
But
keep let's I really because me personally, I'm trying to develop a youth I'm trying to get more involved into the youth aspect of kettlebells.
yeah,
And you know, I'm working on getting involved with the local schools around here, the high schools, trying to get in. I went in front of the Board of Education last year. Trying to, just get more involved with the schools and maybe start a program within my school
Nice.
system in my county.
Yeah.
Uh, so this is all great, fantastic information, and I love it.
Yeah.
Are you involved in the school system out there at all? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been working in like primary schools and that for quite a while now.
Hmm.
And it's mainly just like extracurriculum activity and stuff, but it's
Yeah,
about just getting as much exposure out there as possible.
exactly.
So we've got something cool happening. It hasn't totally been signed off. I'd love for this to be the groundbreaking announcement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll come back on when it does get signed off, mate, and we can chat about it in great detail.
Hmm.
But you know, the key thing is when you're looking at developing like youth sport and like youth activity, it's it's looking at the kids who don't necessarily play the sport first because
Right.
they're at the ones that are at higher risk later in life.
Hmm.
Whether that be mental health issues, whether that be physical issues, it goes hand in hand. Like physical activity eradicates a lot of issues,
Yeah,
further down the line.
absolutely.
So if we can get exposure like get these kids exposed to that sort of stuff, then we're ticking a box, right? With with what's been really successful for me personally, I can only speak for my club, is is getting families involved,
Hmm.
okay? Because realistically, if we have a look at like on a weekend, what do most parents do? They stand in the UK anyway, stand on the sides of a freezing football pitch watching their kids play football in the rain and stuff like that. They're not actively there. They're a spectator. They're not actively participating.
Right.
It's the same with any other sport that kids do. Whereas kettlebell sports, you can lift alongside your kid.
That's right.
Now, studies show that if mum and dad are physically active and
Hmm.
get their kids involved, it just becomes part of their lifestyle. I.e., so why do you go to the gym? It's just something we do.
Right.
It
That's
becomes
right.
ingrained. So we've leaned into that a lot and we've
Hmm.
made like family kettlebell sport a really big thing. And that was a big part of our club. And
That
we've
is
still
awesome.
got families training alongside mum and dad, training together with their two kids, and that's such a powerful thing because it's something that brings the family unit together.
That's
It's
right.
something that they can share, and it's like not mutually. It's like it's part of the family identity.
Hmm.
Going to lift kettlebells, and we've had some great success stories. And even last year at World Championships, we had a father lifting with his two sons, and then unfortunately me in their
Hmm.
relay team.
Yeah.
Like tell me any other sport in the world where you could, as a father, could step onto a platform and compete with your sons as
Hmm.
part of a relay team.
That's right.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like very, very, very rare, right?
Hmm.
So that's really, really cool. So kettlebells addresses that. So the family side of it is really, really good. Now, when you're working with the kids, always go in from my point of view,
Of course.
is you're trying to address um where kettlebells can pick up the slack.
Hmm.
So there's multiple studies out there that show that if a kid starts partaking in physical activity, i.e. doing a sport, their maths and English general skills will improve.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the angle. Okay,
That's right.
not kettlebell sport is amazing. Oh, it's great. We've got all these guys, and it's a tool, right?
Hmm.
Because the big picture is getting the kids involved in a sport, you know,
That's right.
and then
Something that
the
they can
ripple
focus their
effect of that is
mind.
to go into it. Do you
Right.
know?
Hmm.
So that's the key thing that we've always got to, for me personally anyway, this is the way I look at it, is like, how do you grow the sport? Like, well, we need to get more kids involved,
That's right.
but the sport doesn't do a great job of selling itself. It's not a
Hmm.
sexy sport. I'm sorry. I'm
I
sorry
was
for
gonna I
anybody
was
who's
gonna be asking you these kind of questions too. How do we present kettlebell sport to the world in a different way to make it more appealing to a 15-year-old kid who maybe doesn't like football or baseball or soccer or things like that, but could possibly be successful and get something from kettlebell sport?
So why does anybody do anything? First and foremost, all right. Human beings, we may have evolved. This crazy world we're living in, we looks like we've actually regressed in some areas, but I'm not getting into that now. But why do we do stuff? Why do people play sports in general? It's because they want to be part of something, right?
Hmm.
First and foremost, like how many times have you heard it? Ah, I'm not going to football practice tonight. Why? Ah, Johnny's not going.
Mm,
It's not that the kid wants to play sport, he wants to spend time with his mates.
yeah.
All right. But also, so like, we're not trying to sell kettlebell sport as such. We're selling them the opportunity to get fitter, stronger. And then you go, oh, there's also a route where you can go and represent your country in this.
Hmm.
What? Really?
And then they
That
get all
that's
excited
that
about that.
that's the route. Do you
Right.
know? Like you're not going to be going into the gym and act like a big meathead. You're going to be strong, but you're also going to be fit. You can do this, you can do that off the back of it. You give them that sense of purpose for themselves.
Hmm.
Kettlebell sport is the tool to get a child fit and strong. So we're not trying to sell the sport, we're trying to sell the activity of just getting fitter and stronger. You
Hmm.
know, if I could bottle like the feeling of strength and fitness, I'd be making more money than Jake Paul does in Prime any day of the week,
That's
right?
right.
So that's what we're selling.
Yeah.
That's the outcome. You know, when we talk about selling the sport, we need to look at it. Well, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to sell? You know, because when you're selling something for an outcome.
Hmm.
You know, Pete, when if you look at any advertisement, what is it doing? You have a problem. Here's our solution. Come and buy it for 9.99, 99.99.
Hmm.
You know that's it. Sport. If we look at for you guys Monday Night Football or whatever, what is it? It's entertainment.
Hmm.
So we're selling entertainment. So when you're looking at right, I want to sell the sport. Well, who's your audience? What are
Right.
you trying to do? You're trying to grow the sport to get more kids into it. Don't sell the sport. Sell the outcomes.
Hmm.
Because you look at the sport and it's boring.
Right.
You like to watch if you don't know what's happening, especially when you look at a lot of regional competitions. You've got lifter on one using pink bells, person next to them lifting red bells, person next
Hmm.
to them lifting yellow bells, some male, female, some guy who's like 6'5", built like an absolute unit, lifting next to 40-year-old Barbara who's 5 foot tall, doing single arm snatch and he's doing jerk. How do you sell that? You're not
Right.
selling that. You're selling the outcome. So when you're looking at right, we want to get more kids into the sport. Don't sell the sport.
Right.
Sell the outcomes of doing the sport,
Right.
being part of a team, being part of this, being the sense of community in my gym. I absolutely love it.
Mm.
Like it's amazing. Like one big family atmosphere,
That's beautiful.
people from all walks of life. It's so cool. It's also cool to be part of. That's what keeps people coming when it's absolutely tipping down. It's -2 outside. You pick up the kettlebells and they're frozen to your hands. It's painful, miserable. Don't want to be here, but I'm surrounded by loads of amazing people.
Hmm.
That's what keeps me coming. Goes back to my Thai boxing days when you stepped into the gym and you're like, you know what, bro? I'm going to warm up in my socks because if I don't, I think I'm going to get frostbite. It's that cold in here, you know? So, but that's what keeps you coming back, the atmosphere, the environment.
Hmm.
And then when you start to get a little bit good, then we start looking at self-determination theory, like what keeps people motivated. Well,
Hmm.
SDT sounds like self-determination theory. We've got that competency there. Oh, I'm actually getting good. When you start getting good at something, what do? I
What?
start doing more of it.
Yeah. Right.
Autonomy. Oh, I can control. Well, kettlebell sport, we've got biathlon, we've got jerk only, we've got long cycle, we've got snatch only, we've got military snatch. You can compete for 10 minutes, you can compete for 3 minutes, compete for half an hour. Autonomy. I can choose what type of lift that I can do, and that's what keeps people motivated and keeps people coming back for more. So when we're trying to talk about growing the sport, it's if I'm trying to sell it to kids, then I'm selling the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of it is when we're trying to sell the sport and from an entertainment aspect and grow it like that, then
Mm-hmm.
that's a completely different question. That's a
Hmm.
different outcome. So we need to look and how do we make the sport more entertaining?
Right.
Do you know? Because
Oh, absolutely.
it's never going to lend
Absolutely.
itself. It's not the UFC. It's not MMA.
Right.
We don't have these magical moments like a flash knockout or something like that. We might do at the buzzer and it's a race, but it's like, how many kids are tuning in to watch the London Marathon from start to finish? Just people running.
Right.
What keeps people entertained? It's this. You can't watch the London Marathon with no commentary
That's right.
unless you know exactly what's happening. It's
Right.
the commentator's responsibility to talk about the story, background, etc., etc.
The commentator has to pretty much give you a play-by-play of what's happening. So when
Yeah,
you got a live stream of 4 to 6 platforms going on, and you want to be able to have a commentator to talk about what's happening up there, what's probably going through their minds in minute 7,
yeah.
things like that. So I definitely see that. Yeah.
And that's the thing that we've got to ask ourselves then. But like I say, when you come to trying to sell the sport to the kids, sell the sport as presenting an outcome,
Mm-hmm.
i.e., self-confidence, a good way of getting fit. Listen, mate, you don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to be the fittest. You're not going to be running around. You don't need to worry about getting chosen last. Dude, you can come in here with your hood up, your headphones in. Like, I don't care. You just pick up a kettlebell, stand in front of it, follow my exercise. Nobody else is going to be looking at you because they're all going to be looking at me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And you just crack on and you do you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that we're overcoming when it comes to kids. You're going to get this outcome. Now, with some kids who play sport, right, it's low impact. So you play a contact sport like rugby, it's low impact. So it'll
It's not
help
as
build
hard
that
on your body.
resilience round the tissues, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll actually help you in your sport.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, awesome. This will do for me because it's selling. So they're not looking at kettlebell sport and going, "Oh, I saw Van Markov do a 170 odd jerk. I want to be
Yeah.
like that guy." Nobody who's watching that.
Right.
You can probably pull up the numbers and see what's the views on that video. Compared to the highlight reel of a UFC champion
Right. Or
from a
or even
weekend or
even something like the CrossFit Games.
exactly that. So hopefully that answers your question in terms of how you
Oh,
sell the
absolutely.
sport to the kids. It's you sell the outcome and the benefit of it. The
Mm-hmm.
sport is always secondary because the big picture isn't the sport. The big picture is getting people healthy.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the tools to provide that, and then offer as a byproduct, you get 100 people lifting kettlebells. Okay, by proxy, they'll drift into competitions and stuff like
Right.
that. It's a nature of the beast.
That's
Somebody
right.
starts running to get fit. Oh, I'm just going to start jogging down the street. Oh, I can run for 5K. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I might join in with my local fun run, my local park
Right.
run.
That's
Cool.
right.
Oh, I've done 5K. Can I do 10K? Oh, cool. I'm going to do that. Some people, nah, just go for a run to switch off from work.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
by proxy, we'll get off the back of it. So
Right.
that's
Let's talk
that's just
about
my opinion.
mhm. In your experience, what kind of carryover have you seen in youth or maybe someone who's in their 20s? What kind of carryover have you seen from kettlebell lifting to other sports or just general way of life?
So for me, because obviously kettlebells is all about that small detail, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like micro. You want to do a bump, but you don't bump too hard because that's going to send the kettlebells up. It's going to bang on the wrist. You want to drop, but you don't want to drop too low because that's going to make you unstable. When you're using a snatch, you've got to shift your body weight back. You're not pulling with the arm because your arm's going to gas out. It's all these micro movements. So what is it? It's inter and intramuscular coordination. It's that body awareness. Now, somebody who's incredibly body aware, it translates into any sport and activity they do. Why? Because they understand, where am I balanced? Why am I off balance? Why am I here? Why am I landing there? What does that feel like? kettlebells addresses that coordination aspect of it. So when we look at the physical impact, right, first and foremost, it's that coordination, that body awareness. When it comes to kids, what's the biggest thing that goes as soon as they go through growth spurt? So pre-peak height velocity and post-peak height velocity. What's the first thing soon as somebody goes through a growth spurt? It's that coordination and stability, right? The brain's like, hang on, you're 5 foot tall, but
Right.
actually physically he's
Now my
6 foot
arm's like
tall.
3 inches longer.
Yeah, he's 6 foot tall. He's got a bigger beard than me. He's got a deep voice, and he's built like the Van Dorn. You're like, his brain's going, yeah, this 5 foot child is walking around. It's like, nah, man. But kettlebell sport trains that coordination at low impact level. Now, if we look at it from a physiological point of view, again, what's the biggest thing that underpins a lot of sports performance? It's always work capacity.
Hmm.
Right? So if somebody, before we get stronger, we need to learn how to move.
Hmm.
Kettlebell sport allows us to load a movement pattern progressively and get some exposure and actually builds that level of work capacity that we don't always get from general physical preparedness, right?
Hmm.
Or people that don't access to it. So it actually it backfills it. So if somebody's going to football practice 3, 4 times a week and they come and do kettlebells once a week, it gets to backfill their general physical qualities, just like tissue resilience, being able to hold certain positions,
Hmm.
getting stronger in certain positions without adding massive amounts of load. That's then going to detract away from the activity. Because as soon as somebody says, I can't do kettlebells because it makes me too sore to go and play football, you've lost them,
Hmm.
you know? So that's the big thing. So we look at it from the coordination aspect of it, and then physiologically, it allows us to progressively overload them and in a manner which allows to build large amounts of work capacity in just that kind of that grunt strength of just
Hmm.
being able just to chug along, keep working, keep working, keep working. So those are the two main things that you get to see them carrying over. Now, from the psychological aspect of it, it's the it's one, it's that awareness of turning up and getting exposed to being the worst one in the room. So if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room, as they say. But
Hmm.
also it's the determination of going, when my brain is going, stop, 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 I can't do this, I can't do this. How are you going to handle that? And actually, the more you get exposure to that, the more that when life chucks stress at you, because remember, the body doesn't really know between stress from life stresses and sports stress, few physiological things. But when you're
Hmm.
stressed at work, what happens? Your appetite gets suppressed, your heart rate goes up, you get really tense in your traps, your forearms, and your hips. You know, it's that defense mechanism. All these stressor response goes up. When you train, all these stressor responses also go up. So the more you get used to handling stress, when it comes from in a life aspect of it, your body can handle it. You've
That's
built the
right.
resilience. But I'd rather, I know somebody's confident that they can handle a bit of pressure in the gym, which is a safer environment. Like, dude, if you put the kettlebells down, nobody's died.
Right.
Don't worry about it, man. It might feel like the worst feeling in the world. Trust me, it feels like the worst thing in the world. But
Hmm.
on the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really make a difference. But you've learned something.
That's
What
right.
do you need to do differently? I need to learn how to stay calm and keep going and
Hmm.
tackle that voice. So in terms of the crossover, you've got the the physical side of it and the
Mental.
psychological side of it, you know?
Big mental uh, gains, especially in those failures.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was told by Carissa Siverot, I was telling her about one of my failed sets one time, and she just said one thing, and it'll be there next time,
Hmm.
you know. And it's so, and that hit me pretty good because it's like, you know what, you're right. It's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, like you said.
Yeah. Mate, and that thing held me back for about 6 years.
Yeah.
Like I moved from the 24s to the 32s within a 3 month period.
Oh
I
wow.
competed in my first World Championships in 2013 out in Russia in Tumen on the 24s. And then in the February, I was lifting the 32s in my first professional competition. And because my ego wouldn't let me drop back down. I just persevered and just tried to push on and push on and push on and push on. Every
Mhm.
single competition, 32s, 32s, 32s. What was it? Stop set. What was it? Stop set. This perpetual cycle. You're mentally
Mhm.
weak. You're not mentally strong enough for this sport. All these types of things.
Mhm.
But it was just a lesson every single time. Now sometimes I didn't learn that lesson.
Right.
You know, it's like when we get exposed to alcohol for the first time. Oh man, I've got a headache and I'm spewing up. I'm never drinking again.
Right.
Dude, you're probably going to drink again. It happens. But the sport was presenting these lessons. But for 6 years, I was just doing the same stuff. I was doing insanity when it came to my sports preparation. Just
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. It was only when I started to dress that I went, okay, why is this happening? And then when I started to dress that, then things started to move forward, you
Right.
know?
Mm-hmm. One of the things you talked about is with the youth athlete, you're doing 50% of their training session is going to be mobility and specific little things like that. And then only 15 to 20% is going to be geared towards technical precision with kettlebells.
Yeah.
Walk me through that process. Maybe maybe touch on that and then the difference between someone that like what's his name again?
Arturus.
Yeah, so I'd like to compare, your youth beginner to, your most elite. What's the differences in, how heavily are you relying on other exercises other than kettlebells, like barbells, dumbbells, calisthenics, your conditioning work, things like that.
Yeah. So with youth, we've got a lot of templates out there. If we look at Fagenbaum's work and we look at
Hmm.
the maturation guides and what happens, and Steph Morris has done some great stuff around Olympic weightlifting for youth athletes. And
Hmm.
if we always have a look at it, there's two charts. There's looks at what physical qualities do you typically work on with a child that's gone through pre-peak height velocity and post-peak height velocity, and what physical qualities that you're building on early on is always fundamental movement skills.
Hmm.
Squat, lunge, like in athletics, it's ABCs,
Hmm.
agility, balance, coordination, control. And then obviously you're progressing. Now, if a child cannot squat, it cannot lunge, cannot balance on one leg, cannot kind of hold any certain positions, then I know that further down the line, that's going to bite them in the backside.
Hmm.
Why? Because as we need to get stronger, what do we typically do? We typically load a barbell, we start doing some general exercise.
That's right.
Now, if they can't do that further down the line, they're going to be hitting a glass ceiling physiologically.
Hmm.
But also, it's integral as part of their development, is we've got to make sure that they are constantly building these fundamental skills. Because, like I say, as they through growth spurts, they lose coordination and we've got to
Hmm.
go back in and we've got to constantly be building their strength as we go up.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the key thing. So using an analogy, okay, with a child, like the outcome is you want a knife that is really sharp and that can do its job and go for it. When you get a youth athlete, you get a sheet of metal, and it's up for you to cut the shape that you want, get rid of all of the excess, mold it. We're doing this, we're doing that. Oh, that's wrong. We need to melt something down. We need to change it, shape it again. When you get to somebody like Arturus, he's already
Technically
one of the
sound.
top chef's knife,
Right.
So all we need to do is sharpen it. So
Hmm.
when it comes to that's the biggest difference. So for a child that's working on squat, hinge, brace, rotate, locomotion, gait, horizontal push pull, vertical push pull, like anti-rotation, rotation, all of these things, they need that. Why? Because they're big movements. And what's kettlebell sport? Kettlebell sport is a series of small movements.
Hmm.
So if I can master the big, then the trickle down effect is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
I like
You
that.
know?
Hmm.
Whereas Arturus, he's already got a high level of physical, general physical preparedness. When he's not in season, i.e., when he's away from competitions, he'll just do some general barbell work, deadlift work, etc., etc. Keeps that ticking over.
Hmm.
But because he doesn't need to spend so much time building his general physical qualities, his GPP zone is like 3 weeks,
Hmm.
3, 4 weeks, and then he can go straight into specific physical preparation
Hmm.
and then competition preparatory exercises, etc., etc. With
Hmm.
a child, they don't have that amount of data that allows them to go into that specific stuff. Do you know? So
Hmm.
it's with a child, you got to think if it's more like an airplane taking off, and it's like a very cargo plane. It doesn't just go up like that. It's
Hmm.
steady, steady, steady.
Yeah.
With somebody like Arturus, it's like a private plane. It can just take off quite quick and
For Arterias, it's almost like riding a bike, right? You get
yeah,
back on it,
exactly
you
that. So
kind
so
of come
when
back to it
we're
pretty quick.
when we're preparing our tourists for the sport, it's we are preparing him to handle the specific physical demands of kettlebell sport,
Hmm.
i.e., jerk. That's his main discipline. So we've got to build physical qualities and high levels of repetitive physical qualities that allow him to get the most out of that, because the motor learning aspect isn't kind of needed as such, just refinement and technique. With
Right.
a child, we've got to think that these kids are just kind of 6 months, 2 years, 3 years into their journey. Everybody lauds at like Arturis, Ivan Markov, and all these guys, Alexei Rybakov, and Oleg Kolomits, and all these high-level guys and stuff like that. Everybody's like, "Oh, he's great. I want to get there." But do you want to do the 15 years beforehand?
Hmm.
What is it Jimmy Carr said? Everybody's jealous of the results, not of the journey that I took you to get there.
That's right.
So we can't afford to miss that step out.
Hmm.
So with, like I say, and my big thing is kids need a really good fundamental base. The wider
Absolutely.
the base, the higher the peak.
Hmm.
Okay, so if I can get kids doing that, so it means that they'll spend a lot more time doing general stuff,
Hmm.
and then because they'll pick up stuff really, really quickly. Because you've got to think of like neuroplasticity. So there's a reason why kids can pick up a language, 4, 5, 6 languages if you teach them. They'll
That's
pick it
right.
up like that.
Hmm.
I'm 37 and I still struggle with the English language.
Yeah.
They'll pick it up really, really quick. So that means from a technical point of view, they're going to learn stuff really, really quickly.
Hmm.
So if that's not the main issue, yes, we're going to teach them, but we've got a longer goal here. Because again, if we just get them lifting straight away and we don't work on that base, then
Hmm.
it's always going to be their physical qualities that let them down.
Right.
And that takes time to build up and refine technique. And again, if you're 4 foot and you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you're 5'5", you grew a
Hmm.
foot in the space of 6 months or whatever, your technique's going to change.
Right.
You might be one of the kids who stays the same height as Johnny Benitez.
Hmm.
Okay, small. So you're going to have to focus on the second dip and getting under those bells. Or you might grow up and you might be 6 foot odd and you might be built like Markov. And by the way, you've got hypermobility so you can hit positions. So your
Hmm.
technique's going to differ. But I don't know that when they are 9, 10 years old.
Right.
I can have a good prediction by getting the parents' height, but I don't know how they're going to form.
That's
So
right.
realistically, I need to just make sure that there's no physical quality that's left behind
Hmm.
that could be a sticking point further down the line. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. How are you coaching patience? Specifically, you know, in someone who's just learning, whether it be a youth or an adult that you've dealt with as a beginner. How are you coaching patience so they don't just, oh, I can't do this, throw the bells down and just walk out the gym?
So the key thing for me is you've got to leave every session with a win, you
Hmm.
know? So in terms of patience, it's kind of like I don't. It's trying to rush that result, but it's because the importance of what's happening right now hasn't been highlighted.
Hmm.
Okay, so if we look at like highlighting the importance of what's happening right now in front of you, then they don't really care what's happening further down the line. It's there, but actually, that's an outcome goal. All I care about is the performance and the process goals.
Hmm.
That's the thing that's going to keep you coming back for more. Okay, because if you're outcome goal focused of rank one, I'm going to get CMS and I'm going to do this. then you're missing out the steps and the process and who and order you have to become in order to achieve that,
Mm-hmm.
because every single athlete has to evolve every time they move up the weights or they move up the cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who can survive for 10 minutes jerk at 6, 7, 8 RPM, you have to become a completely different athlete if you want to lift at 15 RPM.
That's right.
The mindset's different. Okay. So with that in mind, when I'm teaching, like trying to get across that somebody has to be patient, and if that's coming up, it's because I haven't highlighted what needs to happen in that. So it's these process and performance goals that happen off the back of it. So for example, we might be looking at second dip, catching second dip as soon as the elbows drop and you pull underneath. Okay, right, dude, your goal for this session is to hit kind of 50%. So if you do 10 reps, 50% of those, 5 reps, I want them to be able to, you can actually see you dropping underneath it.
Pausing
Now,
in that
there's loads of
second.
ways that you can gamify it, but that's the goal. So
Okay.
then it's not like then the outcome isn't the determinant of success within that section.
Mm-hmm.
So and then obviously results do come off the back of it and everything else like that. But again, if you've got a really good community around you and you've got good people and you make it a special environment, then people will keep coming back for more.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I had an athlete, his the long head bicep tendon ruptured last week. So that's ruled him out of this year's World Champs.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be his first ever World Champs. You could see at the end of the session, he was really like pissed that that shit happened and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So just had to have the conversations like, right, man, injuries are an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like we can build you back up now to be the best version of yourself come March for when you requalify, and let's just work towards that. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's flips from the outcome of, oh, how am I going to get better over the next 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
So then it's not about being patient, it's because I've got something to look forward to,
That's
which
right.
is in front of me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of coaching patience, it's more about switching from a performance to and process goals rather than an outcome goal.
Right.
Because I tried that. So I just got to be patient, got to keep doing it, got to keep doing it. But I didn't understand what was meant with like you'll just find your own technique. You just keep lifting. You find out maybe that was just poor translation and stuff like that. You'll
Mm-hmm.
just find your way. You just got to keep showing up. But there was no other metrics. When I say you've just got to keep showing up, you've got to be patient. I
And what
don't
does that
have
mean?
control over that.
Right.
I physically cannot have control. So what am I doing? I'm going against one of the tenets of self-determination theory, which is autonomy. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't have control because I don't know when it's coming.
Right.
What do I have control over? That's what's going to, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Right. So if I do this will get me to there. Your chances are going to be greatly improved if you focus on your sleep, your hydration, nutrition, mobility, all these things, and keep showing up. Your chances greatly improve that you'll be able to hit this. Okay. Then it's not about just keep showing up, bro.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It gives them something that they can then take ownership of and
Mm-hmm.
say, right, it's in my control. What do human beings hate? Not being in control.
That's right.
So our brains aren't wired for that. We want certainty. We crave certainty. So when you put that into sport, this is what we need to do. Focus
Mm-hmm.
on what's in front of you. You've got control of this, so I can then go and make it happen. And that's what's going to help athletes then go,
Right.
oh, yeah, I'll go and do that.
How can we be better today? How can we focus on today,
Yeah,
what we're doing today, and knowing that today is going to be that seed for what's going to happen later down the line.
yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
Yeah. Nice. You brought up nutrition. How are you fueling your athletes during a training cycle? And specifically, if you got competitors, if most of your guys are competing, how are you fueling them the week of and competition?
There's a few different strategies, but basically we know there's quite broad guidelines. But
Yeah.
we know for endurance athletes, if you hit 1.3 to 1.6 up to 2.2 grams of protein per kilo body weight, you're going to be, sufficient. You're going to be repairing your muscles. You're going to help with all of the function that protein helps with. If
Mm-hmm.
you eat 4 to 7 gram of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight, you know that you're probably going to fuel higher end if you've got a heavy training day, lower end if it's a low training day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the approach that I'll always take of just doing the fundamentals like that. Now, if somebody's got a big weight cut to do, things change slightly, but the key thing that we cannot ignore is the role of carbohydrates when it comes to kettlebell sport.
Especially,
You know?
yeah, the energy.
Yeah, so ultimately, like if we've got a lot of guys who are like professionals, i.e. working professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So some people are surgeons, some people work in hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
some people are engineers, they have really, really high stress jobs. So
Mm-hmm.
they can't just go, oh, 4 hours away from training, I'm going to have my meal now, and that's going to fuel me, and I'm going to have a snack again, 90 minutes or 2 hours away, so I'll have a high carbohydrate snack. They don't have that. So during a session, like I'll always encourage the guys, just take a carb gel.
Mm-hmm.
25 to 40 gram of carbs
Mm-hmm.
during a session will be enough just to see you through it so you're not performing on fumes.
Right.
Okay. So that's kind of the first thing. When it comes to competition, if they've had a big weight cut, then we've got to make sure that the way we are refueling them is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got to make sure that one, we've got to get the hydration levels up as quick as possible, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And what's going to help with that is going to be carbohydrates inside that water. So as they're sipping, they've always got carbohydrates going in because that's going to help retain the water as
Mm-hmm.
well, rather than just drinking water. Also, obviously, the electrolytes in the back end of it.
That's right.
Then it's about making sure that we've got high amounts of glycogen available, ready for when we come to do the event.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously everything then becomes a little bit more carbohydrate focused as well. But generally speaking, um, we just follow those guidelines, the 1.3 to up to 2 gram, depending on the individual, their body weight, their goals. And if somebody needs to make weight for a competition, then we want to make sure that we're losing it kind of in body fat before the competition. So being in a calorie deficit of somewhere between 200 to
Mm-hmm.
250 a day
Mm-hmm.
is typically enough.
Yep.
And if we need to say on non-training days, that's when we're going to get a larger deficit because we want to make sure you're fueled for the session. That's that's also fine.
What's your take on intermittent fasting? Me personally, I love a good 18-hour window of fast where I eat for a 6 hour window and then I fast for 18. What's your take on intermittent fasting and kettlebell sport?
So it all depends on the outcome. So intermittent fasting seems to be really, really good for people who've got like serious illnesses and stuff like that. So it can be quite good for warding that off. Now, when it comes to like the general population, my guys, I'll always say like, what's the reason you're doing intermittent fasting?
Mhm.
And if it's not a strong enough driver, if somebody says to me, listen, I've got this serious illness, I'm going to intermittent fast, go for
But-
it, man. If you're doing it because I saw it on an Instagram reel and
Mhm.
apparently it's really good for fat loss,
Mhm.
so, but what have you done in the past? Oh, well, I just can't like do this. Well, what have you done? Why have you done that? I would rather use a more conservative approach because I know somebody is then going to have adequate calories for the session. One thing that we haven't really got data on, and I'm hoping James Ross, GS Science, gets this further down the line, because if anybody's going to do it, he's the guy to do it.
I'm
Like,
trying to set up an interview with him.
look at them. Yeah, tell him, say, Steve Gordon wants you to start doing a metabolic costs, test on guys. I want to know how many calories we're burning during the session and stuff. All right. But realistically, we've got to look at the sport and we've got to go like, I mean, when Arturus was training for world champs and what he's doing now, and he's lifting like 15,000 kilos in a session. Do you
Mhm.
know? Do you know? Like,
Mhm.
like that is a lot of weight.
Insane.
insane. Like I'm getting up to somewhere like 10,000,
Yeah.
8,000, ten
Yeah.
thousand. The metabolic cost of shifting that load, like as soon as you are underfueled and under recovered from that, like accumulative fatigue is just gonna come and back to bite you in the backside.
Mhm.
Now, like I say, so I always try and use a bit more of a conservative approach in terms of how you find it. Now, some people respond really well. Some people don't respond so well, and it's
Mhm.
amazing how many people that go, "Oh, do you know what? I feel amazing. Why? Because I'm having around about 5 gram of carbohydrates per kilo of body weight. Amazing, your fuel for your training sessions,
Mhm.
you know. And we've also got to remember that like kettlebell sport puts a lot of stress on the body. So if we can try and limit other stresses outside of it, then
Mhm.
I'm kind of all for that.
Mhm.
Now, it's not to say that intermittent fasting doesn't have its place,
Of
100%.
course.
It does. You
Mhm.
know, if people do early morning training or it just fits with their lifestyle, or like I say, they're using it to keep a serious illness at bay, like, cool, do you know? But for most people, I always find that the rationale for doing it doesn't seem to be concrete. It tends to be like oh, I'm just doing it because it's something different and it might
Mhm.
solve all of my problems, when actually just doing the fundamentals. It's like somebody who says, "Oh, I'm going to start doing hit training because it's going to increase my VO2 max." And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, but like all studies kind of show over long term that steady state cardio typically just starts to meet the gains of hit training, and hit
Mhm.
training wipes you out, so it doesn't allow you to do anything else. This is right easy to do and adhere to for the long term, so your health markers are probably going to go up. So just do your steady state stuff
That's
so you're
right.
not feast or famine, right? But again, like I I'm not a coach who says you have to do this, you have to do it my way. It's like, again, coach the person in front of you. Like there's so many different ways to achieve greatness
Mhm.
in sport. Like let's find the one that suits you. I always say like my programs will fit the athlete. The athletes don't fit the programs. If
Mhm.
you saw all of my online team, like some guys train once a week, some
Mhm.
guys train 6 times a week. Oh yeah, no, it's not. Like I've built a program that fits the individual.
That's
If they
right.
can only train once a week, they can train once a week. If
Mhm.
somebody's training twice a week out the country and only has access to 2 or 3 different weights, I'll build a program around that.
Mhm.
So and it's the same with nutrition. If somebody's got an intolerance or doesn't tolerate higher protein or whatever it may be, cool, let's go down that route. But as
Mhm.
a general statement, we kind of know that these ratios will probably tick the box for most people. If
Mhm.
they don't, then we'll just change and adapt. Do you know what I mean?
That's right. You're rolling out an
And
online program, right?
yeah, yeah.
Talk
So
talk a little bit
yeah,
about that. When's it going to go live? Who's it for? What is all going to be involved in it? Because it, from what I've seen that you were putting out so far on Instagram, it looks pretty intense as far as like the detail that you've put into it. Talk
yeah.
about that a little.
So like a little peek into my kind of brain. Nobody wants to be here for more than 5 minutes, but like this is like
I've had you for over an hour now.
yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's cool. Like I say, I'll talk kettlebell sport all day long. But I coach so many different people, and I get so many people asking me questions, and it's always like some people need help with nutrition, some people just need help with technique,
Mhm.
some people need like motivation, support, some people need programs to follow, and like obviously I'm an online coach and I've got my own gym and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
not everybody needs a coach. Somebody might have a kettlebell sport coach in their local area,
Mhm.
but they might want just a different point of view in
Mhm.
terms of technique. They might want some support with nutrition. They might want support on mobility or warm-up drills or something like that. So for me, it was like, right, I need to put everything in one place first and foremost.
Mhm.
So like all of the tools that I use with my athletes need to be in one place because I can give access to a lot of information under one roof. So then that was like, right, I've got people coming to me asking for different services, different things. So let's just put them in one place.
Mhm.
So then with the complete coaching, and that's why it's called complete coaching, the kettlebell sport
Hmm.
membership, is because I want people to have a one-stop resource for all things kettlebell sport so you can
Hmm.
use it for wherever you are in your journey. So if
Hmm.
you need support with your nutrition, there's going to be PDFs and you can ask questions and access to the community that'll help you with that.
Hmm.
If you want another set of eyes on your technique, if you're training solo and you kind of like writing your own programs, that's cool. But you want some technical support and technique analysis, you can submit your video and I'll do a full technical breakdown.
Nice.
If you want to, Steve, I've got a competition coming up, there's nothing on the horizon. Cool. There's going to be like 15, 20 different types of programs in there from beginners in like intermediate, advanced lifters.
Hmm.
There's a PDF program you can just go and follow.
Hmm.
You know, there's stuff like okay, different types of warm-ups, different types of drills, assistance work.
Hmm.
So really, it's about me getting all of the information out of my head that I know that I've learned from different coaches and different sports and my own learning, my own experiences and creating a community that allows them to sort of dip in and take as much or as little as they need from one place. You know, we're still a relatively young sport,
Hmm.
so I don't want people to go and have to then say, "Oh, well, I do this, and then I need to go and try and find something here, and he's really good for this, and she's brilliant at that," and because then you end up as soon as you start adding more barriers in, what do? You don't do it right.
That's right.
So I wanted like to create the complete coaching membership, which allowed people to jump in, get as much as they need from it, whether that be a lot of support or not so much support, but there's always going to be something. So there's going to be programs added on a bi-monthly basis every single other month. There'll be a new program, and again, these will be half marathon programs all the way through military snatch to biathlon, triathlon, long cycle only. All these
Pretty much
programs are in
everything.
one place. You know,
Everything kettlebell sport.
yeah, that's it. You know, and I'm really excited because like I say, for me, it's all about giving back to the sport that's given me so much. So
Hmm.
if I can create something that helps people on their journey in kettlebell lifting, then that's going to be amazing, you know. So that's the goal. That's the goal of it. That's the goal of it.
Nice.
But
And
10 days time that's going. But here's the thing. Here's what, you know, you might have heard like there's only mad dogs and Englishmen in the midday sun. That's a saying that's been around because you would go to hot countries and all the locals would be there and just be an English guy drinking beer and sunburnt and all that. You know, there's only us and the mad dogs out there. And that's when I went for a 5K run in Dubai and also did that as well. So midday heat. Don't do that, by the way. Disclaimer. But what I'm trying to say is like I'm going to compete at the World Championships, like, and I fly out the day after I launch it. So that's really smart planning from me, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, you're gonna be busy out there.
Yeah, and I've got 20, 25, 27, 25. I can't remember now. Athletes competing at in Poland at World
Wow,
Champs. So yeah, it's going to be a busy competition, but I'm
that's
excited for
awesome.
that. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. I like to try to end these on one piece of advice that you could give. First of all, where can they find that complete coaching? If someone's
So,
listening to this, where can they find that?
so if you just follow to Nova, so TU underscore Nova underscore
Hmm.
kettlebell training on Instagram, or
Yep.
the launch should be out there very soon.
Cool.
Just testing all the back end stuff. I just want to make sure it all works, and then
Yep.
the links will be going live on there, so you'll be able to find it through the Instagram
All right.
channel and stuff.
I'll make sure I
Um,
post your all your contact information here on this video. I
yeah.
like to try to end these with if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting kettlebell training, what would it be?
Oh, one bit of advice. Jeez. Oh man, that is a tough one.
It's so many different things you could say.
Oh yeah, you know, is be open-minded enough to accept all of the lessons that kettlebell sport can give you.
Nice.
Because, you will learn so much, but only if you are willing to take a step back and go, these aren't failures, these are lessons. These are things that I can learn about myself and carry over. If you're open-minded enough to allow the training to present these lessons to you, you will get far much more from the sport than just the physical aspects of it. So, bit deep, but hopefully people like
That
that.
that is actually really it's a very unique answer. I haven't heard that one yet. So
Yeah, yeah. I like to be different, man. I like to be
yeah,
different.
typically it's get a coach, which is also great advice. But what you just said is completely different than what we've heard. And
Yeah, do you know what? Like that thing of like when you get in a kettlebell sport, get a coach, get a coach. It's like not everybody wants a coach though. That's why
yeah,
also why I want to do the kettlebell sport membership. Like if you just want to come in and just get all the PDFs and just follow a
mhm,
program, have at it. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yep,
It's like not everybody needs a coach when they first start. It helps, but like so part of the joy of training sometimes is just figuring stuff out by yourself,
hmm.
but it's making sure that you take stuff from different ways. But that's a tangent anyway. Sorry.
Steve, you touched on so many great things today. I really appreciate you uh, being so responsive when I was messaging you. I appreciate the help that you've given me personally in the past. Uh, Thank you so much for doing this with me, man.
No, my pleasure. Like I say, I'm happy to talk about kettlebell sport to anyone. Like I say, it's given me so much, and who knows, I might share my rock bottom soon enough, so everybody will might have another appreciation of this is why this crazy Englishman
Hmm.
acts the way he does.
Yes, indeed. Well, hopefully we could do this again.
Oh, mate, anytime, anytime. Keep up the good work and thank you for creating something that allows people to share their unique perspectives and their stories in the sport. There's lots of amazing people in this community, but sometimes we're all just a bit busy to put our stories out there. So we need people like yourself who are willing to interview different people. So thank you for putting these platforms out there for people to share their stories and share their insights into the sport. So yeah, thank you from me as well.
Thank you for that. All right, Steve. We'll be seeing you on the platform soon, sir.
Yeah, all the best, man. Keep lifting, stay strong.
Yes, sir. You too. Good luck, good worlds.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Bye.